Hey guys, and welcome to a battle I'm not sure I can watch again, because I just watched it. As many of you know, I check out my videos to make sure they're good enough for casting before casting them, and this battle nearly gave me a heart attack. It was just that good and incredibly close. It is the mighty green one leading the charge, coming in with the forces of Slaanesh, taking on a Nurgle foe. Now, this is by far and away one of the worst matchups in land battles. The Nurgle player just boxes, as we can see a little nice example here on the high ground, and Slaanesh bounce off it without being able to do too much. We'll have to see how Green One attempts to take this apart. Green One, of course, a very talented tournament player. I had a really awesome best of 7 against him way back in the day on Warhammer 2, which was wild stuff, I think, on Tyran's or Logic's channel. I can't remember whose, but it was some real legendary stuff, so always good to have him involved on the channel. Anyway, for his build, he's gone at triple exalted demonettes in the front. Very impressed by this pick. Very fast and massive burst damage dealers. And hey, if your army's going to die anyway to Mortis effects, you might as well get in there and do the pain while you can. We have a triple Spawn of Slaanesh just behind. Spawn incredibly powerful in the current meta due to the lack, I guess, of skirmish cavalry in the game and kind of range troops with mobility. We've got some spearmen just behind them. We do have a sneaky little cultist of Slaanesh down on the low ground. And then we have the boy. We have Nakari charging Leroy Jenkins style towards the enemy. A battle cry not far from his lips. He doesn't actually look like he has lips, but not far from his goofy little teeth. He's coming in with Slice and Shards, very good for busting open boxes, as well as the Lash of Slaanesh, the Wit Stealer Sword, and Willing Prey. Pretty cool stuff. And what is he up against today? It, of course, is the dreaded Nurgle box. So we have double Plague Bearers, one on either flank. We have the Festering Stooges in the middle, a couple of lowly Nurglings, a load of Spawner Nurgle just to hold and pin the enemy in place. We have a glorious... Oh my god, what is this? Oh, that's his name. Oh, we can actually see players' names now. That's interesting enough if you look on top of their lord, though. We have an Exalted Great Unclean One, as well as a Soul Grinder, Beast of Nurgle, and Cultist of Nurgle. Now, Cultists in general have been a bit nerfed, but hey, that's for the greater good, I would argue. Now, we've got some top quality micro coming in so far by the green one. Going to be bouncing back and forth every time those shots come in. We get a cheeky little whip go down on the Plague Bearers. More shots are going to be getting fired down range. Once again, the micro is simply too good for the Nurgle player to contend with, and the Exalted Demonettes are able to fall back there and once again continue their advance. It's going to slow them down a little bit, but it's well worth not taking the initial damage. Looks like Nakari going to continue to float up around the flanks to try to get into juicy situations where they can really use their magic to great effect. Lovely play by the Nurgle player, though, switching targets and catching the Slaanesh foes unaware. Managed to get some pretty decent damage down on the Demonettes at last. Nakari doing a little bit of very sneaky cycle charge and just slowly poking the Plague Bearers, getting out of there before the shots can really connect. Beautiful work so far from the Slaanesh micro. However, the Exalted Demonettes are now starting to take some significant damage on approach. And they are going to fight an uphill, which is not a fun time in general, and particularly these huge armies crashing together as the weight of bodies pressing you down, it's going to be a bit rough. We're going to see a corruption go down. It was attempted to be duped by the Exalted Demonettes, so they still take a considerable amount of damage. Festering Stooges are now annihilating them on approach, but elsewhere, Demonettes are going to engage with the enemy in hand-to-hand combat just like they wanted to. Nakari is also darting through the battle lines at the moment. Spawn pushing up in. They're trying to bog down the Nurglings and more stinky boys in this left-hand side. Festering Stooges pull back. This is really smart play by the Nurgle player, trying to ensure he can get all their damage off because it's so powerful. Looks like Demonettes are going to fall back. The Spawn push in. They're going to fall back to their spears here, dragging the enemy Nurgle spears, or Spawn I should say, into their spears, and more Spawn as well. Lovely isolation on this left-hand flank by the mighty Slaanesh warrior. We do get a lot of shots go down the cultist. He's able to absorb it though and fall back a little bit. And on this side, we do have Charmed as well as the Must coming down on the Plague Bearers of Nurgle. There's going to be an attempted heal. I think too little too late here. Special balance goes down. Maybe it's going to be enough to stabilize them. Maybe not. Nakari's having a whale of a time dueling at the Spawn, but really doesn't want to fight this on the opponent's terms. Getting some spearmen in here to help. Certainly is going to be a big boom, but you don't really want to fight a Blight Swarm, particularly when you're isolated behind enemy territory. Now he does turn to engage though, now that the spears are hitting some pretty big damage to the Great Unclean One. The little Nurgling though is cheering him on, popping the old middle finger up to Nakari and spitting in his general direction. We get a Slice and Shards go down. It is very well dodged though by the Nurgle player. And it looks like we had a whip hit the Festering Stooges, who will now be surrounded by Demonettes of Slaanesh. This is the summoned unit you can bring onto the battlefield, and they're going to rip and tear as much as physically possible. Nakari's dueling at the Soul Grinder. Willing Prey popped on it, as well as Charmed. Nakari is going to absolutely dump to the grotesque creation of madness. And yeah, it's not looking too good for the Soul Grinder here. Down to about, well, just below half HP. Nakari, not too many scratches on him yet, though the Cultist Slaanesh is on arrival. The Exotic Demonettes are grinding through the front line, as you'd expect. I love this play on this left-hand flank. The Spawn are beating back the Nurgle Spawn, and now Spearmen have rotated up and around, trying to come to the aid of this right-hand flank, which is getting a little bit more scary. Now, the Grey and Clean one is a little bit trapped in here. He wants to go over here and help his Soul Grinder buddy out, but leaving him in combat's a bit risky. I mean, Nakari can outrun you, I suppose, so I guess it's better to fight and die, getting some value, rather than just being put in the dirt, and it looks like the Soul Grinder does indeed, unfortunately, go down here. The Beast of Nurgle's been charmed, and much like a charmed snake coming out of the little pots they're in, kind of floats over towards Nakari, playing quite nicely to the tune of the Snesh player, getting baited out for perhaps an isolation, but rather quickly the Nurgle player snaps out of it and pulls back over to his, his friends over here. And this is really how you want to play with single entities. Fight on top of your troops and not on top of the enemies. Spawn, though, are now freed on this left-hand flank. Nakari using his mobility in the battlefield to just absolutely yeet the Chorus of Nurgle down the hill, going to finish him off, take him away from his friends, his family, get rid of all his hopes and dreams, and crush him in the dark. The Exotic Demonettes are moving over to help engage as a big blob fight here on the high ground. Now, though things look like they're going relatively effectively and well so far for Slaanesh, there's still an Exotic Grey and Clean one on the battlefield, and that's not good news whatsoever. They can dumpster almost an unlimited amount of infantry. Having the Exotic Demonettes in here is quite nice. They do bigger damage all round, and likewise the Spawn have a good utility in pinning in such a large foe. Demonettes are vibing on the sides, likewise are the Spears. Looks like he's going to be slowly moving in one unit after another, just try and bog down and not allow the Mortis engine to have completely its own way. Hopefully buying time for Nakari to kill this cultist, which he's making a big old meal out, being a bit of a diva is Nakari. And the cycle charging is nice, but there's a lot of kind of flinging this guy around. And because of that, he's not taking much damage. I'd love him to get flung into the lava pit. It'd be very thematic. With the other cultists over here as well, they should make short work of the hero of Nurgle. Looks like a Blightball attempt to go down, try to catch the Snesh player's micro sleep in there, but the Exotic Demonettes do move back, and it's quite hard to catch out Green One, it must be said. It looks like the Spawn did a decent job just pinging in the Festering Stooges, who are slowly going down here, but Nurgle are going to win this blob fight on the left-hand side. There is still another unit of Spears nearby. Nakari is relatively healthy, at least at the moment. Going to start floating over towards the enemy general, and in the Cultist fight, it does look like, oh, a lovely acrobatic strike by the Cultist, completely missing the enemy, but, it's all Hollywood, baby. Does force off the Cultist. Going to be enough to shatter him there and come back into the main fight relatively soon. Exotic Demonettes are vibing. Looks like the Spears want to fight on the high ground, I would expect, and it looks like the Snesh player definitely wants to get his units together where possible. Currently trying to bait the Nurgle player into splitting up his forces, but he's not having any of it, moving as a mobile blob. Cultist is getting stabbed in the arse by the other cultist. Pretty typical stuff here, and they will be going down relatively soon, but they are yet to shatter. The Exotic Demonettes are going to continue to fall back, but they might not have the legs on them. Spawn! Look at him go the power running! No! Why did you stop, Spawn? No, I think they were going to be able to catch them there, but maybe they're worried they get over-isolated. Big Lash comes in, the Curry just floating around, waving his hands in the air like I just don't care, and the Spearmen are now on hot arrival. Now that the Coldest has finished off the enemy one, they'll be moving in to engage in hand-to-hand combat, and the Curry tries to get a little bit of a licking on the Spawn. Perhaps a mistake if he gets hit by a slow here, but he is able to escape. Spawn of Nurgle not quite able to catch, and now with the Exotic Demonettes moving in, looking to bring pain to the Festering Stooges, who get hit by a Fascination, doing pretty nice damage to Nakari. A spin anime attack into the flank, going after the Exotic Grey and Clean one, but his beautiful pet, the Beast of Nurgle, leaps in the way to defend its master, though Nakari shall not be unheard and decides to charge into the Exotic Grey and Clean one, screaming a battle cry, and smashes him down to the ground. And in come the Spearman. Curse the Slug goes down. We also have the Blight Swarm lowering the melee defense of all nearby Slaneshi warriors, and Nurgle are fighting back strong here. Very strong indeed. It looks like the Marauder Spears, though they are hit by the Blight, are doing decent damage here, dragging down the enemy Spawn. The Curry is attempting to get out of here, being pinned in place by the Beast of Nurgle. Definitely wants to go after that Beast of Nurgle and try and assassinate it from the battlefield would be really quite useful, and that's just what he attempts to do. Nakari once again dancing his dance of death whilst manically laughing onto the Beast, doing some pretty nasty damage. Nakari's going to fall back. The Beast does overextend a little bit here, and this is where the battle comes down to really minute mistakes and details. This Beast has gone a tiny bit too far away from the Grey and Clean one, allowing Nakari to strike him. Unfortunately, Nakari's back, though, is currently turned on the Grey and Clean one, meaning his melee defense will be halved by the mighty Great Unclean One's attacks. So Nakari does have to pull out of there. We get a big fat stream of corruption. Not the best placement though. You want to catch the end of the spell on the unit realistically. Exotic Demonette's still going strong, and that Charmed is quite nice. -8 melee attack is certainly no joke. Now Nakari tends to get in there. The Beast of Nurgle though shows that she's got a bit of bite as well as bark, and actually staggers at the mighty Greater Demon. And Demonette's going down pretty fast here. We still have Spim nearby. The Great Unclean One's down to about half HP. So is Nakari though. Incredibly close stuff so far. Cultist versus Beast of Nurgle is also a fight to keep in the back of your minds. Spim doing a decent job. Nakari once again trying to isolate the Beast of Nurgle, and almost more impressively keeping the Beast of Nurgle between himself and the Great Unclean One, meaning that the Great Unclean One can't very easily come to the aid of the Beast of Nurgle. Yet another stream of corruption goes down. Should be enough to break off the spears, who are indeed kind of fended off there. But likewise, Beast of Nurgle is taking significant damage right now, though we are going to have a big blob fight, or blob fight, I should say, it's single entity fight, because it is a Beast of Nurgle, the Great Unclean One, who just gave a rather raunchy headbutt to Nakari, and again, and I believe there's still a cultist left alive somewhere, maybe not. Oh yeah, the cultist is back here, just vibing before getting ready to charge in once more. Big jabs to the nipples of the Exotic Great Unclean One, who's staggering a lot here. Can come down to a little bit of RNG, but the Cultist of Nurgle does do some, or Cultist of Sinesh, I should say, does some lovely acrobatics, trying to get on top of the beast before yeeting in gloriously. I love the way they move there. Kind of jump and attack animations are very cool. They are getting 2v1, but that's going to open up a big attack from Nakari, attempting to drag down the Exalted Great Unclean One. Fascination is popped, meaning he's going to rampage. He can't decide his targets, and he's taking significant damage. Being really hardcore focus fire down at the moment, but it is incredibly close. Phil, this is why I didn't want to rewatch this game. It's like, my god, it is crazy stuff. The Cultist of Sinesh is trying his best. A big headbutt comes in by the Unclean One. Still fascinated, still rampage. Big hit, so Nakari takes quite a few in a row. We get a cheeky whip to the back of the Great Unclean One, but he loves it. He's all for it. And he comes with a stream of corruption of his own into the Spearman, doing big damage. It looks like Nakari will fall down to just 200 HP. The Great Unclean One down to 644. Big slash attacks coming in, but Nakari, one last death strike, dies. Cultist immediately avenges their Demon Liege Lord before getting punted away by the Beast of Nurgle. Spearmen are forced off, and now it is a 1v1 rather than a 2v2, and it is incredibly close. They fight over the carcasses of their dead lords and friends. For some reason, the lords have become shadows in the ground, perhaps symbolic in the way they've been forced back to the Shadow Realm. Those Spearmen need to return, though. We've got 42 models. That is a lot of damage value they can bring, and it is anti-large value to try and take down the Beast of Nurgle. There's no more Mortis Engine to drag them down. The Cultist is barely clinging on leadership-wise, down to 6 leadership up against the Beast of Nurgle. Barely clinging on for dear life. Balance power is dead even at the moment. If the Cultist can just hold and fight, they are a better melee combatant, you would think, than the Beast. It is incredibly close, but there is a mouth snapping at their every movement. Any mistake could mean death for the Cultist, and they could get devoured whole. They do get shoved down onto the ground there, but the spears hear the war cries. They look behind them. The Cultist has not forsaken their ideals and their battle plan. They are fighting it to the end, and they shall too. Coming back to answer her battle cries. Lovely attack animations once again. Beast of Nurgle coming in with some old slappity slaps as the Cultist is flung down and being poisoned, which is pretty good. Now it looks like the Nurgle player sees the threat and decides, I'm going to attempt to break the Spearmen before they can ally themselves to the Cultist. A big charge comes in, but the Spearmen, embodied and emboldened by the heroics of the Cultist, decide to stand a little while longer. We shall make them wait, forcing the Beast of Nurgle to once again turn and fight, and somehow the Marauders continue to fight down to just 7 leadership. They're being buffed by the hero being nearby. Cursor Slug goes down. The Beast of Nurgle is really suffering right now, down to just 1,500 HP, and they begin to crumble as the balance of power sees the light, moving in favor of the mighty green one, and the Marauders of Sinesh are indeed going to hold in the name of all they hold dear. Somehow, the Sinesh player pulls this one out in an absolute miracle game. Very well played. Look at the bodies heaped upon the battlefield. It's a bad day for Spawn in general. They were dead in droves on both sides, but incredibly close game. Glorious work by both of these players. That was certainly some wild stuff. Very well played to the Mighty Green One for sending this one in. I don't know what this is. Gloriosa Gran something. Are you like a special Exotic Unclean One that I don't know about or something? I'm really confused here why this name's here. Unless it's the name of the player. That is very odd, but who knows? The Great Unclean One just shy of 6,000 gold value. Is really gnarly stuff. Definitely a standout for the forces of Nurgle. Nakari no slouch, 4,493 value, but the Cultist 1.4k helped out a lot, and I thought the Demonettes did a pretty solid job. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to leave a big fat juicy thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content like this into the future. And have no fear, Domination fans, I will be doing some Domination games in the future. I've just received a lot of land battles. Everyone's very excited, obviously, for having them on the rank system at the moment, which is pretty cool stuff. Feel free to leave a comment down below. What was your favourite moment of the battle? What was your favourite unit? What did you enjoy and so on? And what you'd like to see in the future. There's also a load of links down below to Twitch, Patreon and Discord. Massive shout out to my Patreons and YouTube members for keeping the channel going and their never-ending support. So until next time, guys, peace, peace. And as always, stay awesome.